So, welcome to our exciting panel discussion focused on utilization of data acquired during on-site inspection, field tests, and exercises for the development of on-site inspection techniques. Why are we talking about this? We want to learn from the past and take a look to the future and understand how we can best utilize the data collected during the various OSI activities for effective OSI techniques development. And that also keeps an eye on emerging technologies, such as something that we have right now here on the platform with us. We are hoping to involve a wider expert community, that is yourselves, including early career professionals, into the OSI techniques development process. I am Emilia, and I work as Geophysical Techniques Officer in the On-Site Inspection Division at the CTPTO. I will be moderating this panel. What we will do now is that we will start with a short introduction into the topic, and then continue with the introduction of our panelists. Then we will have a keynote by Mohamed El Gabri, Professor, Deputy Director of the Egyptian NDC from the National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics, Egypt. After the keynote, our panelists will get to answer some already prepared questions, and why finally, then you will also have your chance to ask your questions. During the session, we encourage you to post any ideas or comments that you may have through the mobile app. We may not be able to address all of them during this session, but we will make sure to go them through afterwards. So then, as a background, a few words about the OSI techniques development process, with a focus on the roles of the on-site inspection field tests and exercises. As we know, paragraph 69 of part 2 of the protocol to the treaty mentions the activities and techniques that can be used during the on-site inspection, including, for example, position finding, visual observation, measurement of levels of radioactivity, environmental sampling, and passive seismological monitoring for aftershocks, and many more. The OSI techniques development process aims to build the capabilities for these techniques to be applied during an on-site inspection. We will soon hear more about the OSI techniques in the keynote by Mohamed. So the OSI field tests, they are the starting point of the testing and validation part of the techniques development cycle. Field tests may involve initial testing and validation of hardware, software, workflows, procedures. They may also involve new technologies and exploratory data processing. In the next step, some approaches will be filtered and chosen as to be pipelined as the official on-site inspection approaches. And for those approaches, on-site inspection quality management system documentation, including, for example, standard operating procedures and work instructions, will be prepared to document the workflows and procedures. And then our OSI surrogate inspectors will be trained on these, to apply these techniques. And actually, most of us here today are OSI surrogate inspectors. Then the OSI exercises, they involve the testing, validation, and demonstration of the now acquired OSI techniques capabilities, and they culminate, as we know, to the integrated field exercise designed to illustrate the techniques, application of the techniques in an integrated manner. Then through evaluation and review, feedback is acquired, and the development process starts again. We will look at OSI field tests 22 and 23 as an example of how this works. In 22 and 23, the PTS conducted 2 field tests for the development of some paragraph 69 seismic and non-seismic geophysical techniques, resonance seismometry active seismic surveys, gravitational field mapping, and electrical conductivity measurements. In 2022, the field test was conducted in Austria in a challenging mountainous environment over a cave system. And in 2023, the field test was conducted at a farm in the UK above the Channel Tunnel. Jenny was there. The cave system and rail tunnels mimicked OSI-relevant targets for the validation of the techniques. So how has this data been then used so far? Based on the testing of the various aspects, hardware, software, workflows, procedures, the quality management system documentation was updated and developed, including standard operating procedures and work instructions for all the techniques, and also about 50 new field guides recording detailed instructions for how to operate the hardware and software. Also, the geospatial information management system for OSI Ch1 has been developed for the techniques, including, for example, electronic field forms. And the surrogate inspectors have been trained. These techniques were then applied already during the build-up exercise 24 in Hungary, and these capabilities are available for IFE planned for the end of next year. So you can actually find about the different aspects of the OSI techniques development using these 22 and 23 field test data from a broad range of S&T presentations. Most of these presentations have already passed. However, after this, our panel session, you will still have a chance to hear the talk by Joseph, one of our panelists. The talk is titled Analysis of Seismic Ambient Noise for Resonance Seismometry OSI Technique, and the talk will be given in the oral session for 3.3 on-site inspection relevant techniques starting at 4:30 in Prince Eugen Saal. I would also like to mention that these two data sets are available if anybody is interested in trying some new data processing, exploratory methods for the data for OSI techniques development. So if you are interested, please contact us afterwards. Then it's time to introduce our panel. They represent different aspects of involvement to the OSI techniques development through their roles as surrogate inspectors and experts. Welcome, and thank you so very much that you are joining this discussion today. Now, please introduce yourselves, and more specifically also your involvement with the OSI. Starting from Mohammed and going this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Emilia. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mohammed El Gabri from the Egyptian National Data Center. By practice, I'm a seismologist working in the field of forensic seismology since started my career 25 years ago. And I'm engaged with OSI since IFE 2014, where I was a technical observer. I've been engaged in the second training cycle, participated in the build-up exercise as a deputy inspection team leader, and looking forward for our IFE. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Farushka Himarwa, and I'm from Namibia. So I am the chief geotechnician at our geophysical station, which oversees the station, the infrasound station and seismic station that we have. I got involved with OSI in 2016, and I am honored to be the first Namibian female to be trained as a surrogate inspector. And since then, I have been actively a part of the trainings and learning from OSI activities.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Jozef Kristek. I am an associate professor at the Faculty of Mathematics, Physics and Informatics in Comenius University, Bratislava, nearby in Slovakia. My main specialization is development of method for numerical simulation of seismic wave fields, but I am working with CTBTO since 2015. I was part of the OSI expert meetings. There was 3 or 4 OSI expert meetings, and we are developing the method for resonance seismometry. So we are trying to utilize the seismic noise analysis to help to locate and detect the position of the underground cavities. Together with my colleagues, we process data from not only these 2 mentioned OSI fields, but also from the first one in 2019, and moreover, we also process data from source physics experiment 5 and 6 at the Nevada National Security Site in order to test and develop our methodology. So, thank you.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. My name is Li Peng. I'm now Deputy Secretary General of China Arms Control and Disarmament Association. So actually, my connection with CTBT started from my graduation from the military academy. Right after my graduation, I started working for nuclear arms control and disarmament verification research. And I think in my 20s, I was in Vienna and participated in the working group B meeting as a national expert. So my connection with CTBTO started from that time. And I was working in the PTS in OSI division as an operations officer for a couple of years. So it was my great pleasure to work closely with OSI colleagues. And I also participated in the second training cycle of the surrogate inspectors. And now I'm away from the regime, from the PTS, but still, when I was leaving OSI division, I said that once an OSI would be a gene in my blood. So during the past 4 S&T conferences, I myself, I joined hands with my colleagues. We contributed something to the S&T conferences, and we will continue for contributing as much as possible within our capacity for the development of the regime and also for the development of the equipment for the future OSI exercises.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Jenny Stevanovic. I am a geophysicist by background, and I'm based at the Atomic Weapons Establishment in the UK, in the National Data Centre, the waveform side. So I first got involved with on-site inspection in the CTBTO when I joined the 3rd training cycle in 2016, along with some of my colleagues. Since then, I've been a part of many training activities and expert meetings and field trials. So most recently, I played the role of inspection team leader in the build-up exercise in Hungary, which is a role I hope to repeat again when we have our IFE. I was also the host and organizer on the UK side of the UK field trial. So that was my role there.
Thank you all. And now, without further delays, Muhammad, the platform is yours for your keynote. Please.
Thank you, Melia. I think my talk will be mainly trying to lay out the way for the discussions. I will be addressing the different aspects of OSI exercise and field teams, how we can use this data. If you are not familiar with OSI, you will hear a lot of abbreviations. It's ISP, IT, OSC. so I will try to not to use these abbreviations. As most of you knows, OSI is a final verification measure. It comes at the end, after several layers of verification from confidence-building measures to clarification, consultation and clarification, IMS data, and if we didn't succeed, to be clear about an event which is suspicious, then we go to OSI. If OSI will be conducted, we have a very tight timeline, we have a very limited number of persons, and we have a lot of questions to answer. If we are looking to the timeline of the on-site inspection, we will find it in hours. So at 1 hour, at 0 time, we don't have anything. After 96 hours, the EC, the Executive Council of the organization, has to take a decision about the on-site inspection. You can imagine at 0 hour, the inspectors are not in Vienna because we don't have a standing inspectorate. They are in their countries doing their jobs, and you will ask them to join and possible inspection. You mobilize them either to Vienna or directly to point of entry. And this process with this very tight timeline has to continue. It can extend it up to 130 days, which is a very short time to do a lot of things. But again, it's very long time for somebody to stay in different environment, in harsh environment, in different country, doing inspection. What are the activities you can do? They are listed in the para 69, the famous paragraph. From position finding, visual observation, energy, gamma energy resolution, environmental sampling, passive seismological monitoring, resonance seismometry, active seismic, magnetic gravity, ground penetrating radar, electric conductivity. These are not techniques, these are a group of techniques. We can count here, maybe Emilia told me 15, because Peter will be happy about 15, but we can discuss about the number, but if we go to see the number of techniques, they are much, much bigger. Under electric conductivity, we can list electric tomography, vertical electric sounding, electromagnetic time domain and frequency domain, many, many of them. So we have a lot of techniques, we have a lot of data, and we need to process it to take decisions and to write reports. And these reports, which is written in the field under this tight timeline, they have to be very high quality because it will be peer-reviewed by member states. So you can imagine how much the stress is there and how much we need to be well prepared for this. Of course, we are not doing this into scientific background. We have operational layer. We are doing this, we have to mobilize all equipment and all personnel from Vienna to wherever, to the Arctic, to desert, wherever the inspection will be. Different environment, different health and safety challenges, security challenges, mobility and logistics. And on the other side, we have rights and obligations, either rights and obligations on the inspected state party towards the inspection team, or obligations and rights for the inspected party the inspection team should observe and should follow. So it's very complex process. It's not only about techniques, it's not only about operational and logistic aspects, it's about integrating all of this to approach a successful inspection. But as you know, CTBT is not yet into force. What we are allowed to do until it is into force. We are having this from the resolution established in the PrepCom. We have 3 bullets. The first bullet is about documentation. We need to develop operational manual that describe how we will conduct the inspection. And we have to develop a list of equipment which will be used to conduct the inspection. The second bullet is about training. We need to develop a training program that uses this manual and this equipment to conduct the inspection. And at the end, which is related to our discussion today, we need to have to make provision of the equipment, including conducting technical tests as necessary. And that's where we are talking today. So the BTS and the member states, with the engagement of member states, is making provisions of the equipment. We already having some versions of the equipment list. We have some version of the operational manual, and we have training program, which is being tested through training experts. So we need to test all of this, not only equipment, but testing the whole process to learn from it. So field tests could be like what Emilia showed you, very specific about techniques, applying them with very specific targets we know and we precisely design. Or it could be some sort of free play exercise. The largest exercise being conducted was the IFE-14, where the inspection area was around 1,000 kilometers. It was in Jordan. The inspection team was around 40 persons. This is the maximum we can use in the field. In the same time, applied the different techniques and introduced new concept of ITF, inspection team functionality, about rapid deployment capabilities, and it was a very successful exercise. This slide should come 2 slides later, so remember it. It's only about the data and the number of data we are using in the OSI. The last exercise we had, it was POE24. It was in Hungary. It was build-up exercise, not integrated, so it's testing a small or a specific time window with specific techniques, but giving the inspection team a free play. And the scenario team is putting some scenario to be followed. And in this inspection, again, around 100 tons of equipment were being used. The inspection area was around 380 kilometers. And more than 200 participants participated either in inspection team, in an inspected state party, or in exercise management. And in this specific exercise, the number of inspection team was less than 40, was around 36. What the outcomes of such either field exercises or field tests? Of course, operational readiness, which is very important to test how ready we are to conduct on-site inspection. Procedure validation, we have a lot of procedures, not only high level like the operational manual, but going down to work instruction, to standard operation procedures. All of this need to be tested, especially that we are conducting this into operational layer, into integrated manner. We could have different techniques conducted together, not only, for example, geophysics together, but doing environmental sampling with electric conductivity, or designing where the noble gas soil degassing will be located through high-resolution geophysical survey to characterize fractures which could be used. All of this, how we can integrate all of our procedures. Of course, it's very important especially for field tests, to test new technologies, because of course we are limited to the techniques specified in the treaty, but these techniques are developed. Each day we have new equipment, we have new software, we have new modes of work, designs, so we have to use all of this. Efficiency gain, I cannot find an example better than GEMO, the Geospatial Information Management System, which we are using. It's the core system that we are using not only to visualize our data, but to design our missions, to design our, to drive through the inspection team functionality. So it's very important to integrate all of the information into one pool and provide tools to the whole team to analyze. Of course, strength and compliance of these exercises are very important as evidence for reinforcing the treaty and the message of the treaty. But we are facing a lot of challenges during these exercises and field tests. Starting from data integration, how to integrate different data with different formats, even with different expertise. When we are talking between Nobel gas experts and geophysicists, how we can overlay and how we can integrate different things together. About logistics, every technique, every mission has a layer of operation and logistics, how we can maintain this. This also poses a lot of questions and a lot of areas needs to be addressed. Of course, the time constraint has both sides, time constraints from signatures of nuclear explosion, which fades fastly, like seismic aftershocks or short-lived isotopes, or on the other side, the ITF cycle, how we design our missions and how we are conducting it and how we are collecting informations. Of course, the environment, different environment, harsh environments, mountains, desert, Arctic, even the equipment face challenges. Some equipment will not run probably in very cold zones, others will not work in very hot zones. And even the signature will be different. Signature, what we are searching for, will be different from tropical zone to arid zone. And of course, the technical limits, about the technical limits of the equipment itself and how we can address this and how we can improve this. So that's where the other slide should be, which I mislocated. So we are having a huge amount of data coming of this exercise and field test. And these data are very, very important for us to better design the next exercises and better be prepared for the entry into force and conducting on-site inspection. So it's important to use this data and to use the lesson learned from exercises to improve our work. In OSI, there is a very robust system for taking lesson learned from exercises and designing a new OSI action plan which addresses all of the lesson learned during the previous exercises and be prepared for a next cycle. This is very important, but what's important as well is to broaden the engagement, to improve the exposure of the academia, exposure of everybody to the data we are having. In order to address, we are having huge amount of data. It's important to address it in terms of data analysis, of terms of quality assurance, calibrations, analytics, even procurement, because which new devices will be suitable to our work here. Maybe you can see here this device Li Bing will be talking about, but I give it as an example where in active seismic techniques we are moving from cables, which I remember it was used during IFE 14, the cable for active seismic reflection. Today, the current system we are having is seismic nodes, which is a standalone node, which is very good compared to a central recording unit with cables, with a lot of problems, a lot of logistics. Right now, it's standalone nodes, but we are having more than 800 nodes. So at the end, we have to collect all of this, download the data, and charge them, bot them back. Today, technology had brought us this equipment, this system. And I hear distributed acoustic systems in this conference, maybe in every session I hear that. This is a technology maybe will be the future usage, and I will leave to Li Bing later to talk about it. But it's an example how technology could make our life easier and make our logistic more efficient. There is a lot of new technologies that can address data fusion tools, logistics, sensor advances, novel processing, and autonomous systems. You saw the robotic dog downstairs and how we can use it even for health and safety in areas where we need to be sure that the inspection team could access safely, but also how this could help us to address inspection in differing environment. Maybe in the previous session, we heard about hydroacoustic systems, which is used to locate explosions underwater. At the end, it's part of our mandate to think about a challenging environment. So there is a lot of advances, a lot of challenges, and we have a lot of data. So what we are hoping, how we can engage academic researchers, technical experts from member states, industry partners, students and early career, because I can see students and early career are very important in innovation, in bringing new ideas, in bringing new bloods. This, I believe it is very important to think about it. And it's, for sure, wider engagement will bring more stronger feedback loops to the procedures, software, equipment, and every aspect, will bring innovation, will extend the capacities, and will bring, most importantly, localized expertise. If we are talking about inspection in archaic area, we need some experts from archaic area rather than Emilia. But we need them because they have the experience of how to conduct this survey, how to use the equipment within this context, from desert, from a tropical area. All of this imposes a lot of feedback by increasing the engagement. So I can see that we are having a lot of data. If we could establish some institutionalized data sharing mechanism. We have very good data sharing mechanism in the organization already in IDC and how they are sharing data to member states and also to academia through some established mechanism. I hope one day we will see something similar in OSI where we could not only share the data, but to get the feedback, because it is very important to have the whole loop. If you provide the data, I should have some channel in order to channel my feedback to the BTS. And this feedback, already there is established mechanism to get it into improvement and to improve the whole process. I think I will stop here, and during the discussions, I would be happy to answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohamed. I think that provides an excellent starting point for our discussion, addressing many challenges, but also vision already for the future, many things that we could be doing to really engage a wider community. So it's time now to start our discussion. How we are going to do this is that we are going to have 4 questions, each of which each of our panelists will get to answer in a little different order. We will start with question number 1. And this is meant to now kind of look first to the past. What have we learned? What can we learn from our previous experience? So based on your experience, how do you see the role of the data generated in OSI exercises and field tests for the OSI techniques development? And we will be starting with Jenny.
Thanks, Emilia, and thanks to Mohammed as well for an excellent talk to set the scene. So the data generated in these exercises and field tests, it can be used in many different ways. So here are just some of my thoughts, really. So in order to validate the methods and technologies that we know are laid out in the treaty, but there's a subtlety there which is around kind of the developing technologies, and the treaty is kind of frozen in time, but of course we're developing all the time. So it's really validating that the methods that are developing actually can be used within the treaty context. We're also using them all of the time to refine our procedures. And then we've seen massive development before the build-up exercise and since the build-up exercise of how we apply these different techniques and technologies with the insights, really, that we've got from the data from both the field exercises and the field tests that have allowed us to refine those procedures and improve our efficiency and also make it easier to implement in the field. And then, that's been reflected in the new development of all of the field guides that we have now for inspectors. We need to keep track as well and keep pace with innovation and capability building. This goes for all of the techniques that Mohammed's discussed. And then we want that to really influence the design of the inspector training and how that is rolled out to the team so that we can take advantage of all of the learning from all of these different data sets. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Very many, very important points, including really that in the end, it's the training. Everything has to translate into training that really trains our surrogate inspectors to apply these techniques. So next, Joseph.
Yes. So excellent talk, Mohammed. Thank you. And from my perspective, as a developer of the method, the data generated on these OSI exercises and field tests are really absolutely central to development of the methodology. For example, when we use data from a source physics experiment from the Nevada, we faced problems because those data were not primarily designed for the seismic noise measurements. And we faced really problems. We have to adapt our methodology. And finally, we were able to find some information in the data. But this shows us that even the imperfect data could lead to the really methodological development. Similarly, the data from the 2 exercises in 2022 and 23, they gave us a realistic environment, and we could have validate our method on a real data in a real karst, very complicated system, or in this channel tunnel behind the farmland. And this was really invaluable in processing and in enhancing our techniques. So in short, the data generated by OSI are really backbone for the technique development. They reveals limitation, drives improvements, and allow us to test theory in real inspectional conditions.
Thank you very much. So really, while we may be able to use any other data sets, but we really need the data that comes from our own context to be able to validate our techniques. Yes. So next is Ferushka.
Thank you very much, Emilia. Mohammed, you have just made me think of so much while you were presenting, and I know we've kind of prepared for this, but there was just so much flooding in as you was talking, and I kind of sit here and I ask myself, like, what do I really think is the role of data? So when I look at it, the OSI, we're kind of preparing for when we are at that stage where we go into the field. And data is important to answer the question. And I had a discussion with Professor Josephat from Kenya, and he's like, the data never lies. And it's true. So like Jenny has mentioned, it's to verify first if the technique works. So with the data, we'll be able to see, can we answer the questions? And then we need techniques that are easy, because I think of my experience in the field, and you're under so much pressure. Mohammed outlined the timeline, and some signatures, they decay. So the pressure of getting things done, and at the end of the day, you need to ensure that the data you collected is quality data, and I think that's where my emphasis is at, that handling this pressure, but then also ensuring that the data is good quality that we can actually use further along the line.
Thank you very much, and really that it answers the questions that it's supposed to answer. So we can develop all the fancy techniques we want, but ultimately it will have to really answer the specific questions that we are posing. So then, Mohammed.
I think I speak a lot, but it's, again, data is treasure. And data is really, as Faroushka highlighted, cannot lie, but it has many faces. So I can look to the data and have some answers, while Emilia can have different perspectives. And that's why engaging or broadening the engagement will really bring new insights and new ideas, which really, I don't like the word, but it's really out of the box. So that's what we are trying to look for, is to bring new horizons to our field of work and to optimize our either techniques, either hardware or software.
So maximize the impact. So then, last but not least, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Amelia. I think I can answer this question in another way. I'm the last one. OSI data, if we think that we have 3 pillars for this CTBT verification, so besides OSI, there will be MS and IDC. There is one division who is named after data. So data is very important for CTBT, and it's also very important for OSI. It's especially important because we don't have that IMS system. This will continuously collecting data without stopping. We have limited exercises, so we have to pay much attention to data collections. And the verification is also proof-oriented. The proof will be the data. The data in your hand will be the eye of truth. So I think utilizing data and make good use of it for training, even for machine learning, AI in the future, I think there will be a lot of things to be done centered with the data.
Thank you very much. So really to maximize the opportunities also to collect data and use the data that we have. So let's move to our second question. Now we are looking to the future. We already got many elements of the future in many of the responses, but more specifically, how can we make the most of the data generated in OSI exercises and field tests in the future? And this time, we are starting with Mohammed.
So again, it's, we are talking about data which we already collected in field tests and exercises, and prospective to new data we will be collecting. So the short answer will be data repository. We need some place to hold all of this data, to document it well, and to make it available, either internally or outside. This will really increase the impact of the field exercise, the field tests and the exercises, and the data collected from them.
Thank you very much. Really, so to access and use the data, really the documentation is the key so that it can be reused and used again and again in the future. So then, Jenny, it's you.
Thanks. So I think one of our responsibilities as, let's say, when we're working in the kind of global security is to document for posterity our work. And time and time again, the value of historical data has been proved, and it's our responsibility, I feel, to make sure that we're archiving and making available that data for not just our colleagues today, but also for the future. So kind of a systematic approach to the data archiving, I think, is one way that we can really add value straight away. We can also use all of the data that we've collected, particularly because it was collected with our specific context in mind, to develop our tools and algorithms to make our lives in the field much easier and to make our experience more efficient. I come back again to training. I think maybe I mention it on every slide. But nothing, we're going to gain no benefit, in a real on-site inspection unless we kind of push through all of this value to the training and to the surrogate inspectors themselves. So, making sure that the inspectors have the chance to work on real data that's been collected in a real, kind of context, treaty-specific context, I think is really important for that knowledge transfer. And then also to kind of broaden it out a little bit, I saw Mohammed mention in his talk as well, this kind of collaboration with a broader partnership with students and academia and broader industry partners as well, to really make sure that we are harnessing and leveraging all of the external expertise that's not sat in this room today.
Thank you very much. There was a lot of very important ideas. But again, starting really from archiving and making the data accessible, just for a context, we are obviously saving all the data sets, but as of now, we don't have a mechanism similar to IMS, where we could share in an archive and share the data in a similar manner as of now. Then it's your turn, Ferushka.
Thank you, Emilia. So my colleagues have touched on some of the ideas I had. So first of all is getting like a central place to store the data. But then also who can access the data, like a contingency plan. Who gets to access the data? Under what conditions do you get to access the data? I have been kind of brainstorming with this idea. We have quite a few surrogate inspectors. And I don't know about the others' experience, but my experience has been I come for training, and then I go back to Namibia, and I go on with my everyday job. But I have to pioneer. I'm the ambassador of OSI, basically. That's how I see it. And I was thinking, like, for the surrogate inspectors, like, to also help spread the data in their local countries and communities, like, to be the focal point where if you need access, I have access to the database, I can apply on your behalf, like, to get access and kind of drive that initiative. That's what I'm thinking.
Thank you very much. So we really have already a network of people around the world who are connected to the OSI work, but maybe then this is really the way of engaging the even wider community through these ambassadors around the world. So then, Mr. Lee, it's your turn.
I think data has their life. So I think after the exercise, it's like a newborn baby. So it's just the starting meaning of data. So I fully agree with the previous speakers. I think that we should have systematic approach for the storage of the data. So I think it's not just after the exercise you discard it. It's useless. You don't need it anymore. We should learn from the other broader divisions, especially IDC division. IDC was there for a couple of years, and they have accumulated not only a large amount of data, but very much experienced for data processing, how to make good use of data. So in that case, I think data can be the new specification for new generation of equipment. So it can be indicators, and also it will point you the directions for the development of a new cycle of new equipment.
Thank you very much. So also, like when the data is fresh, it's good to get it out because it's a new baby and it interests everybody, right? Thank you. So then, Joseph.
Okay. I see three main priorities. Two of them was already addressed here. So storing and sharing data, this is the first one, already necessary. And the second one, continuous methodological development. But I think that also the third one is really important, and this is the integrated use of multiple techniques. Because data should be processed from several points of view, and we should try to get from the data as much as possible to using several different techniques, and this is also too much important for the future development.
Yeah, really that maximize the impact that once we have the data, then it could be used for so many different testing of different approaches. Thank you very much. Let's move now to our third question, which is how can we best involve the younger generation in the OSI techniques development? Again, we already touched some aspects of this, but let's start with you, Ferushka.
Thank you, Amelia. So, Mr. Simon from the youth group mentioned something that just stood out to me, is that the youth of today have a concentration span less than 2 minutes or even a minute. So I think engaging the youth to kind of help us create content. I've been seeing some of them go around, and these hyper clips that they've been making have been really interesting. Just getting them involved in creating content and putting it out there, because they have a way of grabbing the attention of the youth. But then also, what I was thinking about is, like, when we do a lot of trainings in different countries, and we have observers, but they usually come in official capacity. But it would be good to have students come out as observers and kind of run them through. I absolutely love the little corner that Aled has made with the robo-dog. That's super fascinating. I actually video called my daughter back home, and I showed her, and they light up when they see these new technologies and the possibilities. And so I think the youth is interested. It's just trying to come down to their level so that they actually understand in baby terms what's going on, because it's a complex scenario. It's, like Mohammed explained, it's different things, it's timelines, it's different techniques. So just simplifying it and having them like in their language so that they understand and get engaged.
Thank you very much. So that we really try to address like engaging even younger and younger students so that they would become more aware of our work. We are looking further to the future, right?
Yeah,
like that it's not just now 10, 20 years from now, we are going to be needing new people to join our cause.
Definitely, definitely.
And so then, Mr. Lee, that's you.
Oh, thank you. I don't know, for answering this question, I want to use myself as one example. I don't know if it's a model of success or is a model of failure. Because I started to involve into CTBT when I was in my 20s. Now I'm over 50. So almost 3 decades passed. But still, I think my passion for CTBT is still the same as almost 30 years ago when I was in my 20s. So I think the most important thing is that because I have strong interest with this regime, I firmly believe that CTBT will contribute ultimately to the peace and security of the whole world. I think we should have well selection. Not every single individual of the next generation or the next generations will be interested with arms control and disarmament. Some of them don't care about this. They care much about UAV or the other things. So we need to have our next generation which will have strong interest with CTBT. And then we will involve them more to the activities, exercises, provide them with as much as possible the opportunities, because I almost participated all the introductory course, advanced course, exercises, directed exercises, tabletop exercises, and integrated field exercises. So the more involvement, you have more strong interest, and you can have some contributions from your deeper heart for this regime.
Thank you very much. So it's really also about sharing our vision and engaging through that. We have a cause that you want to work for, and then when we start with that, then that would pave the way for the hard work of dealing with data. So Jenny, you are next.
Yeah, thanks. So before I start with my points on the slide, I actually want to pick up on something that Mr. Lee said. I think if you ask anybody who is involved in OSI, we all feel like we're part of the OSI family. And I think once you become part of the OSI family, that's it, you're in for life. So I think reaching out and getting people involved earlier and sooner, even if people move around, I know many of my third training cycle colleagues have moved on to other jobs, other roles, even other countries, but they're still, OSI inspectors, and I think it's a family for life. So the sooner that we engage people, the longer we have them, the more runway we have with that expertise. So I thought that was a really lovely point. So I guess then coming back to my slide points here, looking at different entry points for early careers and more the kind of youth professionals, looking at training and fellowships. I know there's a really lovely outreach program, like a mentoring program, isn't there now? So things like that, I think we should build on and do more. Integrating more broadly with academic research and other industry partners, I could have also written on here. So I know that we do that already, but we could always do more, with a broader range of universities globally. Leveraging these new digital skills and innovation, coming back to what Farushka was saying about the youth and their kind of attention span, and but actually they are so keyed in to developments, that kind of short attention span actually is a benefit in many cases because they adapt so quickly. So being able to leverage those skills of the younger generations while the rest of us get left behind by AI, I think would be wonderful. And then the community and mentorship, I already mentioned a little, but we're trying to broaden that into the inspectorate as well. So many of the new linear training program participants have a third training cycle mentor, for example, and we try to kind of partner them by experience and expertise, and really broadening that community feel, I think, will bring people along.
Thank you very much. Mentoring came from many angles, and that really is it's been proven in so many contexts to work so very well. And again, that really brings back to this idea of community and family. And then really we are here to mentor each other and then learn from each other. So I really loved these responses. So then we have Joseph.
Yes. So Jenny told almost everything. I will just add that, okay, we are also trying to attract young people, young bachelor students when we analyze data from these OSI experiments. And we see that this is very much important for them because they don't just learn from some books. They see the data, they can process it, and they can learn very much from this. And sometimes when the young students don't know that some problem is really very hard to solve, then can try solve it very easily because they are not biased by everything that we are biased. So this is very nice for this. So I think that we should attract them and to try to face them for the very hard questions.
Thank you very much. Really, maybe throwing our data sets to them and seeing what they can come up with. Yeah. That could really work. And then it's Mohammed.
I think the panelist has touched on most of the points, but I would like to pinpoint one aspect. Already in-house, we have some ongoing process of engaging young people, like mentoring program, like YBN, Young Professional Network. We need to increase the exposure of such a program to OSI. They are more engaged with IDC, IMS, because there is already established process for sharing data. So if we succeeded to bring out our sharing mechanism, I believe we will have broader engagement in a very short time, because we will use already what we have.
Thank you very much. I think one key point that is coming out really from this whole discussion is mentoring. Then we have now our last pre-prepared question, which is how do we ensure effective technology foresight and assessment for OSI techniques development? And this question, Mr. Lee, you will get to open, and maybe you want to explain a little bit what we are planning to do in 2 weeks.
Oh, thank you. I can feel exactly the challenge to be the first to answer the question. Okay. So from our past four times participation in S&T conference, I think my experience was that I think you should be aware of the margins of the OSI equipment development. So this, I think this is the most important thing. You should be quite clear about the requirements from the on-site inspection regime. So this is very important. From participating in the S&T, you can identify those margins. And then, on the other hand, I think you should be quite clear about, should be aware, the awareness for the emerging technologies. Then you can have some, to some extent, is like brainstorming. So the first time participation of our team in 2019 was actually, we know the margin. And then we have some brainstorming to bring the new technologies to this on-site inspection equipment development. So we proposed some potential candidates. And it's the same for 2021, 23, and these current sessions. Then we found something. I think that is Amelia pointed the DAS. Distributed acoustic sensing is an emerging technology, and it has been widely used for oil exploration and is mature to some extent. So for that case, I think it's quite possible that you combine those two requirements and solution together. I think for the next IFE, we also proposed some LEO orbit-based narrowband satellite communication solution. For this stage, we can provide something which is for the health and safety solution. So I think that can be some suggested approach for the development and also for the evaluation of the technology and equipment.
Thank you very much. And really, in a little more than 2 weeks, we will be testing distributed acoustic sensing system within a context of OSI field test. And this will be the very first time we are getting the very first initial experiences on how to operate DAS in the OSI context. Thank you very much. So then we have Joseph.
Okay. From my perspective, the effective foresight requires balance, the balance between operational needs and scientific exploration. And this could be done through 3 main principles. And the first is testing new technologies, new hardware in realistic environments. We saw this on the data from the last experiment, last test field in 2023 in UK, when we were able to compare different seismometers, different sensors at the same place, and we could decide which one is the best for the needs we have to for the specific methodology. So this is really, really important. Then, when I saw the development of resonance seismometry through 2015 up to today, we saw that each data brings new insights to the problematic, and every lesson should be somehow institutionalized in the concept of operations or some manual, not to be forgotten. This is really important. And the last, what was already said here, that we have to involve more expertise, not only from different fields, but also different regions, in order to not to miss something. So this is for me important to foresee.
So really just being overall in many areas systematic in the assessment.
Exactly.
Thank you. Then Mohammed?
I think technology is not only related to hardware and software. We are in need for innovative ways for logistics, for techniques for sampling, splitting, for example. Something we are very simple, something even it's related to OSI context, but it could have very innovative ways. Telemetry communication for data, we have many aspects. It's not only about the core techniques, but it's even about the data, the metadata, the transfer, the logistics behind. So I can see a very broad band of a spectrum. And we need to let's say, to align this with the current way of development. Already at the BTS, there is a very good way of tracking the improvement and tracking recommendations from previous field tests. How we can do the same with feedback coming from academia. It's very easy to do it with recommendations coming from evaluation team. But because it is homogeneous, it is clear, but when it is coming from academic, it will be different. So we need to think about how we can align this into our system of development.
So really, like what Josef was saying, that we don't really want to miss anything, so we need to ensure that we are also really broadening the understanding of what the innovation can be, so that we are not missing some procedure or way of doing things that might as well be very innovative in our context. Then Jenny, it's you.
Thanks. So I kind of interpreted this question on like how do we kind of future-proof and how do we, make sure that we are capturing all of the development. So I've kind of I've mentioned kind of horizon scanning here, but after hearing some of my fellow panelists' inputs, I think really it kind of comes back to the archiving question, because as we scan for new developments, we want to be able to apply those to the historical data. So I think, again, making sure that we have that systematic approach to saving our data, then we have the opportunity as we move into the future for applying these different techniques on the same data sets. And I think, so I've also mentioned here kind of scenario-based assessments. So again, we can think about the different kind of, the different geographical contexts that we might, like gather some of this data and have future inspections. So kind of planning for those scenarios and gathering data like accordingly will then help us to future-proof when we come to do kind of real inspections or exercises. We can also leverage our networks and academic partners, and then that brings us back to the kind of broader engagement and interaction with the community. And then we have the opportunity to really iterate this. Again, if we are really strict about how we look after our data, we can continually iterate as kind of technology develops on the same data sets to make sure that we are, like capturing what we can.
Thank you very much. Like, we really need to be purposeful at so many different levels to capture like all the different aspects. Then Ferushka, you will get to close.
No pressure there. Thank you, Amelia. So I've kind of addressed this or looked at this question from the perspective of what I've experienced in the past going out into the field. So I've been kind of at the very end of the chain. Like, I just come in and I play with the equipment and see how I can break it and give them more stress. And what I kind of feel is that looking forward, we need to make innovation work for us. In that sense is, like with GMO, it's a fantastic idea that they came up with, and it works so well. It made work so much easier, reporting and just keeping track of what we do in the field, because it's, when I think of the context of when we actually do this inspection, it's 130 days, there's political pressure, the whole world will have eyes on us. You need to gather high quality data. It's just so much that goes into play that I just want something that I can walk into the field, plug it in and play. Like minimal work. So that's why I'm saying I want innovation to work for me. And I think we've been doing a good job at that. I should really commend the OSI staff members on trying to make innovation work for OSI.
Thank you very much. Very important point to the end. So it's not just about finding the techniques that can do the job, but they have to be really practical to implement in the OSI context with all the constraints that we have. So this will conclude our pre-agreed questions. Now the floor is open for questions from audience. You can use a microphone in the audience, or you can post your questions online. And I think we have already one question at least here. So while you are lining up, I see a long line there already. To post your questions from the room, I will read the question that we have online. So this is coming fresh to all of us. I forgot my reading glasses. So we need to consider how to be better at documenting metadata if this is to be used in the future. My worry with this organization is that so much institutional knowledge about the data is invested in us who collected it. It's a comment, but let's turn it into a question. How do we want to address it? Anybody who would like to start? Mohammed will start.
I think there is, to be fair, if we are talking about metadata, we are having a very robust workflows we are going through. So this workflow aligns the data and can give you insights. Because in OSI, it is very important to do things according to procedures. Otherwise, because mostly, or sometimes, you will not be able to analyze this. Somebody else, another inspector will be doing it. So if you didn't do it according to the procedure, it will not go through. So I believe, to be fair, I believe we are having in the OSI fair procedures that can reflect about the metadata and the survey plans and the conductions of data collection that can be useful for somebody external to analyze the data.
That's a very good comment. So there are procedures, obviously, within OSI to collect the metadata. Then maybe just something we need to think about is that how to then translate it into, there are certain OSI practices to make the data available to outsiders, maybe some additional things. But Jenny looks like she wants to say something.
I'm ready. So I think there's a reference in that question with a valid concern about the tenure policy and that kind of loss of institutional memory. from my perspective, this is where the kind of engagement early and often in a kind of cyclical way with external partners is going to play a key role. Many of the surrogate inspectors have been around for many more years than some of the PTS staff, and they kind of, it's not so much institutional memory because it's external, but they kind of retain that knowledge of kind of what's gone before, and they are instrumental really in passing that down to the future generations, both of inspectors, but also of the new PTS staff as they come in as well. So I think that kind of internal, external flow of knowledge and information is kind of really key to this concern.
So maybe really, in that sense, the data fostering could be more like a community effort, not just something that the PTS does. But let's see where the future goes. Mr. Lee, you want to say something?
Okay. As I suggested, we can borrow the experience from the IDC division. I think it's the same. That probably we will collect the data as IMS IDC did. And they had a standing issue, a question for confidentiality. So that is for distribution of the data. And it has been properly addressed. So I think we followed their suit. And I also heard our previous colleague, they mentioned that it's a community effort. So we have definitely the equipment that is, we call it contribution in kind. We don't have that in IMS. IMS stations would be the PTS stations. So if it's a collective effort, so the data can be shared, but we still need some policies for archiving, documentation of the data. In the very beginning, we are in an approach to share the data because the CIK the equipment, they have their data with them. So we have no way to restrict the distribution in the very beginning.
So we should learn also from those who are already doing it and doing it well. We will make sure to do that. Joseph, Feruska, do you have something
I will just a little comment that when we process data from the Nevada, they were shared through IRIS. It was really easy to collect, to work with. So something like this, very easy, common, it's perfect for us as users.
Thank you very much.
Well, I think my colleagues have covered most of it, but I agree with what Mohammed said, is that with the procedures we have now, we have a clear method that we follow, and the data has to be collected in such a way that if Mohammed collects it or Jenny collects it, and I come and I want to see and process it, I need to know all the facts, and I can't run around the base of operation now trying to find Jenny to get information. So I think metadata is covered pretty well when it comes to collecting data. I think that's something that we've covered, and I think it's pretty good.
And so what we are hearing is that, yes, maybe there are things that we need to still think about this, but maybe we have the data, we just really need to then find the ways of making it available. So are there any questions from the audience? I can't really see very well, so if you have questions, please come to the microphone and ask. I don't see...
Maybe there's one.
Okay.
Somebody's running.
I see one member of OSI family approaching the microphone. Thank you.
I just really want to pick up on the metadata thing, actually. I think while we're on an OSI, we record metadata very well. I think if we're talking about reuse of metadata, the way we're recording it at the moment, it might be contained within a report form. Is that going to be stored with the data when we make a repository for it? I think that's the thing we probably need to think about. But if we do that, I think we're golden, but we need to think about how to do that.
Thank you, Dan. So this comes also from the point of view of a data flow officer from the inspection team. Anything you want to comment on that? Any more comments or questions? I see that we have maximum 5 minutes here on our clock. Yes, welcome. Data flow.
Yes, I'm the data flow officer, but I really appreciated your presentation, Mohammed, and I think one thing I saw and noticed that may be also a challenge is the cultural aspect. So, what I see here today with the spread of panelists, you can see the different cultural diversity in this panel. So I think that's appreciative. My question is actually about how would we address the challenges of the cultural aspects, and maybe that could be also used as a benefit, because maybe there are different perspectives. Can you maybe comment on that aspect?
Okay, who wants to go? Mohammed can go.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan, for the question. And it's really, as you said, it's really an asset that we have in different culture, with different background, with different expertise, that really enhance and improve our work. But at the same time, sometimes it poses challenges. Because if we are conducting some sort of data coming back to the way we are collecting data, it has to be harmonized, it has to follow the procedures, workflow, to fill the forms in GEMO as required in a very plain and clear language. If we succeeded to do this, then we overcome the challenge and we have the asset. And I believe the asset is much, much more than the challenge.
Thank you. I wonder, let's take the one final question. Yes?
Yes, I think it's quite proper that you have emphasized data so much, but I think there's also the human element, which should not be forgotten. Experienced inspectors see things. Experienced inspectors feel when something isn't right. And particularly on a very long inspection, 130 days, there are going to be a lot of conversations with the host people, with the host country. I think that is also, you could call that data, but it's more than data, and I think it could be a very important part of the value of an on-site inspection.
Mr. Lee.
I think this is the right question for me, because I was the convener of the session T4.5. You know, we have 2 dedicated sessions for on-site inspection. So one is dedicated to the technologies. So that is the data-oriented. The data will be coming from different equipment, different technologies. So that is, we follow the line, we stress the importance of data. But we should be aware that will be something which is more important than data. It is also data, and it's more important than data. Because OSI is different from the other verification pillars. It's different from IMS, because IMS will be composed of stations. Station will not speak for themselves. They don't have any interactions. But on-site inspection team members, they have internal discussions. They have dialogues between the ISP and IT. So I think it's not purely technical. It's not just equipment, not just technology. It's a unique characteristics of on-site inspection regime. That is IT functionality. So I stress that probably instead of only see the trees, we should also see the forest, because it's interaction between the technology and the humanity.
That's an excellent way to end our panel. We have less than 1 minute left. So I will very briefly summarize by saying that we really addressed a lot of different angles, but maybe in the end, like a couple of you said, it's a family, it's a community effort. So let's look to the future by finding through this community, family members, the best ways to maximize the use of data in the future. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, audience.